All right, now joining us here on the Full Court Press, this is a privilege and pleasure. A guy that I've met and known, and he's one of the better men. Marc Amicone, he's a general manager of the Salt Lake Bees, AAA baseball team here in Salt Lake. Mr. Amicone, thanks for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Ajay, thank you very much. And boy, Mister makes me feel old. So Mark works very well.
I'm glad we're still on the first name basis. I just wasn't sure, after a 2 year
All is
absence.
good.
Hey,
Yep.
what has this time been like for you during COVID-19? I know you have to be careful with how you phrase things, but for you with no baseball, is it busy or is it just kind of empty?
Well, it's excuse me. Obviously, a test of everybody's patience. First and foremost, we're all concerned about our fans and obviously our players and our staff and everybody involved with the organization, that everybody's safe and healthy, and we're doing our very very best to follow the guidelines, and we're all working from home. And I'm happy to say I'm not the most technologically sound person in the world, but I'm getting really good at Zoom meetings and conference calls and teleconferences and all these different ways to communicate. But we're just trying to do our part to keep everybody healthy. And yes, it would be really really nice if tomorrow night was opening night as it was scheduled. But let's keep everybody safe and healthy. And opening night will be here. We'll get it here.
I've heard several people say that the start of baseball season, for those that absolutely love the season, that is like Christmas Day. There's other, there's other exciting parts of the season, the All-Star game or the playoffs and things like that happen. But opening day, everybody's got an equal record, everybody's got an equal chance, and it's back, it's there. Now Christmas has been canceled or at least postponed. How tough is that?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because opening day really is a big deal for everybody in terms of players and fans alike. As you just mentioned, everybody's tied that day. Everybody's 0-0, and we all have a hope that our team's going to win the World Series or the league championship or whatever it may be. So we're all excited about the season going. And the other part for me that I like so much, excuse me, especially here in Salt Lake, is it's a signal of spring is coming. And we get to see flowers blooming, and at the ballpark it's great to see the green grass and the blue skies. And in Salt Lake we see the best view in baseball. We've got the snow cap generally on the mountains this time of year, and it just signals that a new beginning, new season. The spring is a great time for us to kick things off. So we're hoping this delay is not real long, and we'll get back to having an unusual and a unique, be a unique kind of season that we'll remember, and we'll go from there.
Mr. Amicone, it's Mark. Excuse me. I know managers kind of move back and forth in the business of baseball, especially in AAA. Lou Marson is now the manager there. What is your experience and what is your relationship with him like, and what kind of a manager has he been?
Well, Lou's kind of one of those new up and coming guys in the profession, and this will be his third year as a manager. He was in AA 2 years ago, and then he was with us last year. And Lou's only about 4 years from being a player. He was a catcher in the major leagues for 12 years, and he's a really good baseball man, and learning how to not only manage a strategy of games, but manage a team. And at this level, it's interesting because you, as a manager, it's not just trying to win the game every night, and when do you bunt or when do you steal or when do you hit and run and those kind of things. Or for that matter, teaching, swing planes or how to catch ground balls and things. It's really about managing the players as a team and how they try to develop. And as professionals, it's all of a sudden you're traveling all the time and you're together with a group of guys, and there's a lot of guys up and down and in and out of the locker room. And how do you interact with different folks? And he has to deal with players that are disappointed. They just get sent down from the major leagues. We're one step below, and it's hard to get cut or sent down at any level. But boy, when you've tasted the big league level and you get sent back to Salt Lake, part of Lou's job is to make sure they're disappointed for a brief period of time and they're ready to get going again and get themselves ready to be back up in the big leagues.
Mark, these are unprecedented times. This is uncharted territory. A lot of us aren't sure how things are going to come out of this. But from an organization for the Bees, I mean, this is an organization that really hasn't had any revenue since September coming in. There's a lot of talk about still resuming games if we can, ensure the safety of the players and the staff and everybody else involved, but doing it without fans in the stands. Do you think that's really possible?
Well, it's an interesting dilemma, so to speak, from different level to different level. I mean, at the major league level, for them to play that way without fans and maintain the integrity of the schedule and have a champion and those kind of things. I'm excited I don't want to see that happen. Actually, I'd like to see it, obviously, with crowds in the stadiums and those kind of things. But I'm excited to see that as possibly being a step and an array of hope for everyone as fans and those of us in the minor leagues that were maybe on the verge of getting moving. But in terms of us and at the minor league level and at every level of the minor leagues, the business for us, the business of baseball really depends on fans. It depends on people coming to the game and enjoying a hot dog and a drink and enjoying each other's company and being together. So for us to play games without fans would be strictly from a business standpoint, it would add more expense and probably not any more revenue. So we'll have to wait and see what really happens, but it would be much better at our level to play with fans. But again, we have to do what's right for the public health and safety.
Your roster is loaded with some familiar names. Taylor Cole's one of them. He's been in the roster for a while. You have Jose Rojas. These guys. What have you seen out of this roster, and what do you feel like that they can build for the future of not only the Salt Lake Bees, but for the Los Angeles of Anaheim Angels?
Well, what's interesting that you say that. In fact, I made a little bit of a joke on Monday with Craig Williams, our PR director, because Monday was when our media day was scheduled and we introduced the staff and the players and the roster. And I made the joke Monday morning about 9:30 that, hey, media day was today at noon, and by now Craig still doesn't know what the roster is because it's that fluid and that last minute with players up and down. So we still don't know what our roster really would have looked like yet this year. A lot of the Angels had not gotten to a point where, in fact, I'm not even sure the minor league, the entire group of minor league players, I think, were coming within a day or two after, or just before they shut down spring training. So, as usual, I expect us to have a good group of players who'll be up and down. I mean, last year, and this sounds like a crazy number, but we had over 300 roster transactions, which means players going up to the Angels or perhaps being sent down to Mobile and those kind of things. But our job and our position strictly from a baseball standpoint is, we get those players here, and part of Lou's job and his coaching staff is have them day to day ready to go to the major league level, and so until we see who they are, I can't really answer that too well. But
that's fair enough.
We've been very fortunate over the years for the Angels to send some really talented players. I mean, it's kind of fun to look at this last year in the World Series. Howie Kendrick was a Salt Lake Bee for parts of 2 or 3 seasons, I believe, and it was really fun to see how great of a playoff season he had. Obviously, we all want to see Mike Trout get back in the playoffs, and how much fun would that be? And you mentioned Taylor Cole, and he was part of the no hitter when they were the night they were honoring Tyler Skaggs. So we've had some really unique players here going back through the years. I mean, way back in the early stages of our franchise, we had, like I say, we had Big Papi before he was Big Papi, and David Ortiz and Torrey Hunter and Jared Weaver and Eric Ibar and so many, Jeff Mathis, who right now is, goodness, I think he's going to be starting his 14th season in the big leagues, and some really, really outstanding players to watch over the years here. So from a baseball standpoint, that's the fun of it. I like to tell people that, when you come to a Bees game, you see the very best, most talented baseball players that are not playing in Major League Baseball in the world. So from a baseball standpoint, you get to see excellent baseball, excellent players and individual talent. And that's one of the things that makes it unique. And then the flip side of that for us is, you get all the other experiences. You can bring the kids and ride the train on the outfield berm. And I like to tell people we have one of the best restaurants in the state when you come to the ballpark. So it's a great experience from all of those wonderful experiences off the field. And at the same time, if you're really a baseball aficionado, you get to see great baseball.
Again, we're talking to Marc Amicone. He's the general manager for the Salt Lake Bees. And Mark, let me ask you, if the season does happen, and we're all hopeful and knocking on wood that it does, do you think, or what are you hearing? Will it be just shifted and everything will be delayed later and we'll still do the regular number of games? Will games be lost? Or is there a possibility of multiple double headers to try to fit it into a shorter period of time?
Well, I think the very first thing that happens to make those determinations is what does Major League Baseball want to do, and what do they want to accomplish in terms of their schedule. If they want to, depending when it starts, still try to get a 162-game schedule in, and they may have the ability to say we're going to go into October regular season, maybe even into November, kind of a deal. That will dictate what's happening at our level. And depending when, again, maybe they decide they need our players to play X amount of games, and I don't know what that number may be, but it may necessitate that we play past Labor Day, which we've traditionally the regular season ends for us on Labor Day. So that could be an option out there, but again, until they make a determination, they being Major League Baseball, as to what's going to happen with their schedule and what that means for minor league players, we'll just have to react to that. One of the things that's a bit complicated in our league, in the Pacific Coast League, is we have 16 teams in 3 different time zones, and so our geography is far and wide between. And a lot of what we're doing is dependent upon commercial airline travel. So there's a lot of factors that we would have to deal with in terms of, are the airlines back with full schedules and routes and those kind of things, or would we need to adjust and maybe play a little more regionalized schedule? But those things are being discussed at again, Major League level first, and then we've got some thoughts in our mind about, if this happens, what do we do? If that happens, what do we do? So right now, I mean, as I said, we're on lots of calls and we're making plans, and we're trying to be in a position where we're ready to turn the switch on. And when they say it's safe and it's okay to go, we'll be ready to go.
Mark, when people hear the name Mike Trout, the first thing they think is not Angels. They think Salt Lake Bees because of this man or this myth who's doing all these great things. Can you take us back to the time when you first saw Mike Trout play for the Salt Lake Bees and what that was like?
Well, to me, there's 2 things that jump out at me. I mean, first of all, the first thing, and then I'll give you my 2 insights from a baseball standpoint. But he was with us for 20 games, and we like to think it was a whole season. But one of the things, just from a baseball standpoint, in 20 games. Now, think of this: in 20 games in Salt Lake, he led the entire league in triples, I believe, until early August. So in that brief period of time, that's the impact he had, which tells you how well he could hit, but also how well he could run. But what I probably will always, I know I will always remember, and maybe impresses me more than anything about him at that point. And everything you see about him now is still very, very much the same. But I'll never forget on media day, we knew, and everybody was projecting that he was going to be a superstar. And here comes Mike Trout. Here's this guy we've been talking about for a couple of years, and he's going to be the next the next superstar in Major League Baseball. And we show up at media day, and I want to say he was just barely 20 maybe that year when he was with us, and he was the most outgoing and cordial and nice guy to be around for everybody. He was going out of his way to talk to, and I don't just mean talking to the media people about, interviewing him or what was going on, that kind of thing. He went to everybody in the stadium and introduced himself and wanted to know the name of the bat boy and wanted to know the name of the guy who was cleaning out the dugout. And, I remember him saying to somebody, "Hey, my name's Mike. Who are you? What do you do?" And that's him. That was so genuine. And obviously I don't interact with him hardly at all anymore, but when you do, it's really who he still is. And that will always stick with me. I'll never forget him going to that younger person on our staff and introducing himself and saying, "Hi, I'm Mike. Who are you? What do you do?" And that's the kind of guy he is.
Mark, I've been to so many Salt Lake Bees games, and they're just the best and most beautiful ballpark out of anybody in AAA baseball, and it's not even close. For those who are waiting to go to Bees games this year, what is your message to those fans as we await for baseball to arrive?
Well, we just ask you to be patient and know that when it's time, we'll be ready to go. And as always, no matter what, the one thing that will not ever change with Smith's Ballpark here in Salt Lake City is we've got the best view in baseball, and I can't wait to have crowds in the stands and join right along with them, sitting there and looking at the beautiful backdrop of the Wasatch Mountains and the great baseball that's going on the field.
Mark, thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you. Good to talk to you guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep, you bet. Bye-bye.